Perfect. Oh, yes.
I was about to
I
say
always wanted to be
I
perfect.
memorized this board.
Thank you.
I have a photographic memory, Felicia. That's what you fail to realize. Give me the countdown. What's up? Uh, Boss
Hear
lady's
all
coming.
those sirens?
No.
There's tons of them.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
telling you, they do it. Something big going down.
Something-
When I seen dude with the high power, when I seen dude with the high power rifle, I'm like, dang, I wonder why they got that out. Because he was sitting up there like this. I'm like, dang, he got somebody in his
Let's
target.
19.
19?
Okay.
19.
Coming on up.
The 1 and the 9.
We're moving on up.
We're going to start talking about numerology in a second. Y'all ready? Everybody got their social media platforms going?
Got it going.
You ready, Kenya?
I'm ready.
A couple seconds. You ain't gonna say hi to the people, Quezzy? They got a couple people online already.
Oh yeah. They already know.
Okay.
They know it's about to be hot.
Coming in.
You're listening to KGPC 96.9 FM Oakland and streaming online at www.kgpc96.9.org. This is the Anything Can Happen show with Kenya Asa, Quezzy Dreams, and your man Cat Fitness. Man, this episode we about to talk about some real stuff in this episode.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about things that people normally don't talk about in our community.
What?
Something that just it gets kind of deep, you know? And we have the perfect person to talk about it with today. Can you tell us who we have in the building, Miss Kenya?
I certainly can. Peeps, Anything Can Happen show people. Please welcome our guest today. His name is TJ Sykes. He is a native of Richmond, California.
We're city in the building.
Come on, my town. He is an educator. He is a yogi. He is an author and he is an entrepreneur. His current purpose in life is to unlock freedom in every aspect of his life by overcome fear and fear-based thinking and healing generational
You sound like you on some high vibrations.
It's
type stuff out here.
He did just have a little taste of your rejuvenate.
Oh man, that's gonna always get the conversation going.
So you know. So yes, he is vibrating as high as he can today.
Wow.
A few tools that he uses to navigate stress and depression are therapy, reading, hiking, skating, and biking. Anything Can Happen show people. Can you please welcome our guest today, Mr. TJ Sykes?
Brother TJ, what's going on?
Yo.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I bet.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. You know, I always want to ask whenever I hear somebody's an author, because I too am an author. I always want to hear about the writing. What can you just out of curiosity, I just want to know from jump, like what do you write?
I write everything really. I write stories. I have the ability to write scripts and skits. I have written skits and acted in skits that I've written.
Absolutely.
I've been in a few different multimedia productions, a few plays here in the Bay Area, specifically in Richmond.
Wow.
And so I really write from my experience, my lived experience, but I can also put myself in other people's shoes if they allow me to do so and write from their experience. You know, I have created pieces based on people just, telling me about a lot of the things that they've been through in their lives, and been able to, create pieces that they like.
Yeah.
Nice.
Create poetry and songs and things like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like ghostwriting. So.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's real. That's real. You're a man of many talents. I'm blessed to say I've known you since around the time I first moved to the Bay, like in 2015. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, and you're a man of many talents. I have seen you act. I've seen you perform your poetry. I've seen you being entrepreneurs, selling your walnuts, which we'll definitely get to later in the show. But what brings you here today, right? Specifically, if you could say there was one thing, maybe two things that bring you to the Anything Can Happen show, what do you want to share with the people?
Community. That's the thing that brings me here, and to go deeper into that, I really appreciate the way that in the podcast I'm able to really dive a little deeper into who I am and why I do what I do. A lot of the times when I perform, it's just like, people ask me like, "Oh, I'm having an event, can you come perform?" And that's cool.
Right.
But it's different when you're able to sit down with people and build relationships with people and allow them to dive deeper into your thoughts, into your artistry, into your life, and be vulnerable with real people in real life right now in this moment, and share moments that we 2 minutes earlier, like those moments are gone. We don't have them anymore. All we have is this moment right now.
Wow.
And so just being able to be here with y'all in community is, that's why I'm here.
Absolutely. And what does it mean to you? So you're from Richmond, California, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So just from what I've heard, not.
What have you heard about Richmond?
Oh man.
Because whatever you heard is not dangerous.
Dangerous. Oh my
See, look
goodness.
at that. That's
See,
the
that's
outside
a-
looking in.
Well, it
What's
is,
that?
and it's this. I grew up in the 70s, right? And we weren't even allowed to go to Richmond because at Hilltop, I'm telling you, Hilltop. I'm from Berkeley originally. I live in Richmond now, but Hilltop Mall had the best ice skating rink at that time,
Okay.
and so we always skated at Iceland in Berkeley, and
Yeah.
we took lessons there and stuff like that. But we wanted to be at Hilltop because it was really a good ice skating rink, and
Yeah.
our parents would not. We would have to sneak to Hilltop. We would have to get on the bus and sneak without our parents knowing because they would not allow us to go to Richmond.
Wow.
Okay, so now I live in Richmond. Of course, when I moved there about 12 years ago, my mother was like gasping, clutching her pearls, like, oh my God, Richmond, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's where we about to go.
Yeah.
So it's, it's, yes, but there are different factions of Richmond, and I love where I live, and I haven't had any problems there in all these years. And of course, we are, we're not deep in the depth, down at the down the bottom area
Oh,
where
man.
people may be referring to. We are close to the upper echelon.
Not my
Of
Richmond. The
Rich,
other Richmond.
we like to call it Richmond,
That sound like
right?
That might be El Cerrito. Be careful.
Right. We are literally
Sound like
a
people
few
living
steps
in
from El Cerrito.
Oh my goodness! But no, seriously, right? Like just from what I've heard from the outside looking in, of course, a beautiful place, but it has its parts, it has its pieces, right? So what does
That's
it mean
every
to
city.
you?
Like,
It is
Oakland,
every city.
Like Oakland, everybody.
Every city.
Looking outside in, people like Oakland, and then they just say Oakland, but it's so many different
Every time
parts
I
of
park in
Oakland.
Oakland, my car getting bipped.
Every part of Oakland getting bit.
But it's fine. No big deal. I mean, Richmond is a beautiful place. I know one of my favorite seafood spots is out there in Richmond. What's the name of that spot? That woo. So I mean, I'm willing to go into the trenches to get my snapper. But that being said, like, what is?
You in the middle. You in the middle.
I know I can
I've been
tell.
living there 12 years and I've never even heard of that
She
place.
never heard of Red
No,
Snap.
I've
We're
never
gonna put
heard
her
of
on.
it. Yeah.
We're gonna put her on today.
Okay.
We're gonna get you in touch. But what does it mean to be vulnerable? Right? You talk about community, vulnerability, healing. Like, what does that mean to you coming from where you come from?
Vulnerability coming from where I come from means being different. It means displaying something that you haven't seen, exploring your emotions. This is what vulnerability means to me, coming from where I come from. Because as a black boy, as a black man now, growing up in Richmond, I didn't see a lot of black men exploring their emotions or expressing their emotions. Well, I did see them showing emotions, but it was only a few emotions. As men, we have a variety of emotions that we do not tap in with, such as crying, sadness,
Wow.
you know what I mean, fear. We touch on that fear a little bit, but we don't say that, oh, I'm scared. That scared me.
Ooh,
Mhm.
I get you
and,
killed.
and it's like we be going through some shit that's scary.
Right.
Yeah, real
Like
talk.
dealing with police, that's scary.
Very.
Being in a shootout or being somewhere where somebody's shooting, that's scary. But
Yeah.
when I talk to other black men and black boys, they don't seem to connect that fear with that.
But I think a lot of times being in those kind of environments can desensitize you to that because it happens on the regular.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Survival.
growing up, all the time growing up, all my friends lived in different parts of Richmond, right? And I'd be kicking it in all different parts of Richmond. And after a while, you just get desensitized to those kind of things, and then going into other communities which have similar environments, you know what I'm saying? Like that becomes your reality. That's the regular, that's the programming that you start to take on. You just like, man, this is how it is. And then you learn how to adapt to those environments.
Yeah. The better, the worse.
That's real. But the thing about being desensitized to certain things is this, though, that just because we're desensitized to it doesn't mean that we're not still experiencing them emotions, right? And so that means that we're experiencing it on a mental level, we experience it on a physical level. And so while we moving through these different experiences, desensitized, our body is still feeling it, our minds are still feeling it.
Wow.
We experience these things through our dreams. And some people dream, some people remember their dreams, and some people don't.
Right.
Fortunately enough, myself, I remember a lot of my dreams. A lot of them are powerful and profound. And so, like a lot of these things show up in our bodies in the way we, the things we eat. A lot of us stress eat, and we eat snacks, chips, smoking cigarettes, and things like that.
Yeah.
Our coping skills. These are the things we start to utilize after we become so desensitized.
Well, let me say, I want to piggyback on something that Quedzi just said, which was, some of these emotions can get you killed. He said that real quick, and I want to comment on that because, in a lot of our communities, that's absolutely true. You can't, especially Black men, can't just allow themselves to drop their guard, in many ways, and. But then on the flip side of that is that if you are not able to connect to your feelings, express your feelings in a healthy way, and tap into your feelings, and like you were saying, anxiety and depression and things like that, that can also kill you in a different way. Heart failure and strokes and all kinds of stuff. One of the reasons, I've said this many times, one of the reasons why I left my job when I did is because stress kills, and so then what I was curious about when I was reading your bio is what do you do? Is yoga one of those things? Because I'm a yoga teacher, so I love to talk about yoga. And you said you're a yogi. Is that yeah, absolutely. Is that one of the things that helps you, or a tool that you use to navigate through those feelings that maybe you can't really navigate out in the world?
Absolutely. And so specifically, when I was introduced, so I had already known about yoga, but then I was introduced to a Black male yoga. This specific yoga was deeper than just.
Oh, you got to give a shout out.
Stretching.
Yeah,
shout out to Randy Yoga. That's one of my instructors that I was rocking with for like 2-3 years straight.
Wow.
Every weekend. And he started in Oakland and East Oakland on, I think, MacArthur, and now he's I think they practice in downtown Oakland.
Oh yeah, Oakland.
Yeah, that Oakland. So that space was a very unique space, and it actually created a space where Black men can come together and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Not only stretching, it's not very often we see Black men in the same space stretching and they're doing these vulnerable stretches.
Yes. I was gonna say that.
Your butt is in the air, your butt is down, doggy style, all of these different
Right.
things, you know what I'm saying?
Wait,
And
so the pose is downward facing
Yeah.
dog, but I like your take on it too though. So
And I'm just saying, you know, it can get switched around.
I
You
don't know,
know,
what kind of yoga class we taking?
you're giving
Sound
me
like a
some
new Snoop
ideas
Dogg
on
album.
my next class too though.
I mean, you know, that one can be for the couples.
You know what? I think I'm coming up with some ideas as we speak, right? Like speed dating, except with yoga.
Wow. Wow.
Man,
Next level.
That,
Yeah.
right?
Man,
Yes, I love
I just need
that.
10%. I
Oh,
was
y'all
here.
serious?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
y'all
was
serious.
Such a good idea.
And that's what I'm talking about when we talk about community.
Yes.
These ideas, this energy get
Yep.
together and ideas just start to come out of nowhere.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
no, they come from you.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so what I was saying is, yeah, those stretches are vulnerability. Just
Mhm.
being in a space with other black men in a variety of ages. It was like probably from 50, and I probably was one of the youngest. And I started to bring younger brothers with me.
Mhm.
That was like 16 and 17, just to have that experience, just to see that, just to be able to speak with other black men that are here and sharing emotions, checking in when we come into the space,
Mhm.
having these deep conversations. And so that space was actually called Barbershop Yoga.
Oh, that's
Yes.
Subtitle was Trim Your Trauma.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, we
yes.
started to
Wow.
have these deeper conversations, and
Oh
those
my God.
conversations led into a book club, and we started reading these different books, the spirit of intimacy,
Wow.
Wow.
and things like that, and having deeper conversations.
I love
Was
it.
that through Create the Space, or that was
I think-
specific to writing?
Well, I met Rondi through Create the Space, which is another space specifically for black men, and all of these spaces was just coming at the right time. Like, I need these in my life,
Yeah.
and my spirit was just saying, do what you need to do to stay a part of these spaces.
Wow.
How
Well,
did you
and
say?
that's- Great minds. Go ahead, Kat. Go ahead.
No,
questions.
I was gonna say, how do you stay obedient to that though?
Oh,
Because
sure.
a lot of people, you know, like you said, feel something that they need change, that they need to be moving in that particular direction, but because of their environment and their community that doesn't necessarily operate like that, don't move like that. So what made it functional for you to be like, okay, I'm feeling it, so I'm gonna do it now?
For me, it was really about removing myself from certain, from hanging with certain people, from being in certain environments. And it don't have to be forever. It's just taking more time and putting it into this, something that fulfills me, something that helps me express myself in different ways that I want to express, something that helps me release tension from my body, from my mind.
Wow.
And so that reminds me of how I started writing, like really getting into my writing journey in 2015. I was introduced to Raw Talent, which is Richmond Artists with Talent.
Yeah,
Just
shout out to
young
Raw
people,
Talent.
Wow.
From Richmond, dope at writing, performing, singing.
Can we get some specific
creating.
shout outs? Who in Raw Talent?
Dante Clark.
Wow.
I'm talking about Sierra Bay.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
talking about DeAndre Evans.
Wow.
Denise Robinson,
Oh, my
Jemiah
goodness.
Walker, Naya Binga.
Wow.
And the list goes on, you know.
Yeah.
And so right now, when people think about Raw Talent, they say, what happened to Raw Talent? And what I tell them is we expanded. We expanded so far and so wide that people think we're not even here no more. You get what I'm saying? But the
It's like Wu-Tang Clan.
yeah, but what happened was everybody started, branching off to do their own thing.
Yeah.
We got little younger sisters that's in Texas that started foundations.
Wow.
Daddyless daughter, shout out to my
Oh, wow.
Shoot.
she lost her father as a young woman, and she wanted to support other young women that lost their father.
Wow.
And so she wrote a book with and she interviewed black women that lost their fathers, man, and started an organization called Daddyless Daughters.
Goodness
You know what I'm saying?
gracious.
So that's an extension of Raw Talent. You know what I'm saying? So we have Romeo's Bleeding. That's an extension of Raw Talent.
Yeah.
Which is a documentary based on the Richmond men.
Incredible documentary.
So that's what we're doing. Then we have people like me. I have a published book. I'm an extension of Raw Talent. Like, you know, raw talent lives on through us.
Right.
Wow. So okay, we done talked a lot about everything else and everybody else. Who is TJ Sykes?
It was TJ Sykes.
Mm.
TJ Sykes is a 30-year-old black man from Richmond, California, that experienced a lot of trauma. One of the first things that I can remember, one of the first deaths that I remember is my grandfather. He died in 1997, I believe.
Really, like 6?
Yeah, I was like 5.
Oh, wow.
I think he died like a few days before my birthday. And so that was one of the first deaths that I remember. And then my father had his first stroke in 2001.
Ooh,
So,
first stroke.
Yeah, his first stroke in 2001. He had to learn how to walk again, talk again, the whole nine.
Jeez Louise.
My mother walked him through that process, and she made sure that he got back to where he needed to be.
Was it like stress related or food related? Like, what was the cause of the stroke?
I would say I don't really know because I was so young. I wasn't able to pay attention to all of those surroundings and everything. But I would say definitely stress, definitely.
Yeah.
But our folks don't eat the best.
Man, it's real out here. Cat can speak on that. But, yeah,
and so I would say that stress and then grief, and then holding that hope of losing your father as a father and not being able to express it. The first time I heard my father cry was in 2002 when I lost my mom. And so after my father had a stroke, my mother passed in 2002. I was 10 years old. And so hearing that showed me, like, damn, like, black man's cry is strong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it also showed me that black men most oftentimes have to hide in order to cry. And so
even from ourselves sometimes.
So that was deep to me. But it was a cry that I knew that I would never forget. So it's often these times where I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's intense. That's intense. So outside of, I'm assuming that you found like coping mechanisms, right? So we can start with, what most people do. If you don't mind sharing, like, how did you at such a young age start to recover from that? That's like immense grief that happened back to back to back, right? So what were the first ways that you tried to recover from that grief?
The first way that I did start to recover from my grief was therapy.
What? That was the first way? At 10?
Yeah.
Wait, so how did you have access to how did you even know about therapy?
Oh, good for her.
Wow.
Yes, auntie.
Wow.
Yes.
You got a good auntie.
Uh-huh.
It changed my life, bro. Because I was able to sit with a person one-on-one, and that was helpful. But then I was also able to sit around other young people that had experienced similar trauma. So it was people that lost their mother, people that lost their
So it was a group of teenagers or kids that were all experiencing the same kind of trauma.
Like grief therapy, group therapy, and stuff like that, which is it's incredibly helpful as somebody that's been a social worker for since dinosaurs roamed the earth. That it's and that a lot of people, a lot of families are grieving so much themselves that they're not thinking about the kids in that moment and what because children grieve so differently than adults, right? And so adults have this mindset often of just like powering through stuff, and they've experienced grief before, so they're like, well, eventually it'll pass or whatever, but they're not thinking from a child's perspective and from the very unique position of losing a parent, and so your shout out to your aunt for being a forward thinker at that time, because that is a life-changing, life-saving gesture.
Speaking of shout outs, I want to give a shout out to everybody who's tuned in to our live. We got a live going at ach.show on Instagram. That's at ach.show on Instagram. We got a live going to some viewers and some comments saying it's a dope conversation.
Yeah, let them know to join the conversation. That's what this channel is all about, is making sure that we have an open dialogue for the community to have access to this information. So those online, feel free to comment below so we can get those questions rotated in the studio as well.
Oh my
Right.
goodness, cat is mastermind. coming back to the conversation. So you started with therapy, like you didn't start with drugs or alcohol or like a sex addiction or anything like distraction. Okay. Well, so you did it reverse.
I mean, so like so yeah, we did the the therapy, and then eventually as a young person, I got to smoking weed and drinking alcohol and partying, and that's really the wildest I got. I was too scared of anything other than that, like ecstasy, and I was like,
Wow.
I'm gonna stick
Okay.
with this.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I always had a strong enough discipline for like peer pressure wasn't.
Wow.
You know, it's funny, when I was going through that same experience in my own personal journey, that's one thing that didn't make sense to me was like when people started popping pills and all that kind of stuff, it just seemed extreme.
It is
I was
extreme.
like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, it got to the point where it was like, who's making this? Like, what is in this? Like, nobody's questioning, like,
No.
like where y'all
Yeah.
finding this?
No.
Like,
Right.
at least this is a plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over here.
That's
I
right.
wasn't judging people, but I was looking at how they act once they
Oh,
Man.
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
use that stuff. I mean,
Wow.
I've seen people, take a pill and be in class chewing on the desk.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my! Chewing on the desk.
We was in middle school.
And
right?
popping pills?
Yeah.
Good grief.
Right.
We, it's crazy that as a young person we have access to a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Mhm.
It's scary because it's getting younger. Like,
Yeah.
people, like 10-year-olds.
With the kids using like the vapes and the e-cigarettes. Yeah.
Oh,
man,
yeah, but
it's wild.
That's not even. I mean, that some of these kids out here taking fentanyl.
Man, no.
And I have a former client that I talked to on the phone yesterday, and I'm like, she's like, well, I just got out of jail, but at least I didn't take fentanyl. I said,
She said at least.
I said, that fentanyl can kill you, right?
Yeah, it killed Mac Miller.
And so yeah, like there's a piece missing. I think part of the problem with a lot of young people today is that they think they know everything because of social media,
Right.
and social
Man.
media is not med school.
And
Children.
some of their
Children.
favorite influencers
Yeah.
are dealing with trauma and using these to cope.
And
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And promoting it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Wow.
they're like, oh well, my favorite,
rapper.
my favorite rapper,
Yeah.
my favorite influencer is doing this. It must
Wow.
be cool.
And they have secret, a lot
Wow.
of young people have the Finsta, which is their fake Instagram. So
Oh,
they'll have their regular one that's open to their parents and stuff where they're playing soccer and the violin.
Oh,
And-
shoot.
And then they
Yes.
have, and because I have access to a lot of young people because of my
Wow.
work and stuff like that, they'll give me they'll allow me to be friends with them on their Finsta, and they're like at clubs doing and all this other stuff that
Oh,
they
on Instagram? They post it on Instagram?
well, it's their private one though, so their parents
Instagram ain't
don't know.
private?
No, Instagram isn't private, and I always tell them,
Wow.
please keep your clothes on. You're under 18.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like, stop. But
Oh my goodness.
but as that
Okay.
adult in a lot of young people's lives, at least I know where you are.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
true.
something goes
Yeah.
wrong, I can hop in the car and come get you. And that is what
Wow.
I always say. I'm not going to tell you, Mama, but I need to know where you are. And so
Yeah.
I think that there is this idea that some of it's just like, not to be political, but a lot of Trump followers believe every word that he says just because
Powerful
he
speaker.
says it out loud.
Yeah.
Or people are on Instagram or Facebook or any of these other social media platforms, and they're saying things, and then they're backing it up with like a picture of somebody in a lab coat, or
Yeah.
or something like that.
If it works, it works.
And so it's a manipulation tactic.
Martin,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a manipulation. And so these kids are
Exactly.
like, well, he's a doctor. Yeah, but so is Dr. Dre. I wouldn't take medical advice from him. So I think that's part of it. They think they know everything, and so they'll take anything.
Yeah, so like TJ, being somebody who works with you amongst your many other titles,
Mhm.
somebody who works with you, like how do you advise people who may be more susceptible to peer pressure or might be going down that dark path of like, popping pills or just doing things to cope with their trauma. Like, what do you recommend to them?
What I tell young people when I talk to them about like drugs and coping and all of these things is that what I had to do is I had to create my own like lane basically, and basically what I mean by that is create my own way of living, other than something that I had seen. And I tell them that we have to be able to create our own communities within our communities. And what I mean by that is that a lot of people feel isolated, right? And so if I feel isolated in this space, then I need to find other people that feel similar to me, that can relate to me. And maybe we have something that we can talk about. Maybe we have something that we can build on. Maybe I'll be able to express myself to you in a way that you can understand, and vice versa, better than any other people. And that's how you begin to create your own community outside of maybe a household. Maybe your household isn't the safest to communicate with people. So yeah, that's what I tell them. And I'm just always open to listen to what they have to say without judgment, because a lot of our young people are afraid to speak to parents and adults because they know that their parents are going to judge them, and they know that they're going to try to discipline them, before they can even explain, like, when we're talking about these things, when we're talking about sex, drugs, and these other topics that, these young people are engaging in these things, like whether you want them to or not, you feel me? So we have to have an open ear, and just know that shit, we was young too.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we was experimenting, and so a lot of people try to prevent that. We can't prevent that. We can't prevent young people from experimenting. We can't prevent them from doing stuff we say don't do. And so, how do we support them in a way of, like, being the healthiest as they can be if they are going to engage, and know that, like, all right, say if you did do something that I said, or I said don't do, or I don't approve of, and you in a state of, like, I don't feel like I can control this substance, for example, call me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't feel safe enough to even call their parents in an emergency.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And some of these guardians or elders that they have that take care of them. And so if you can create that sense of safety with your young people, then at least they can call you in an emergency.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a
Right,
village.
exactly.
It really it does take a village, right? And what you were saying, that reminds me of I believe it's in the book of John, like the story about he without sin cast the first stone, right? Like basically they caught a woman who was sleeping with a married man, and they dragged her out to the town square, and they're about to stone her. And they brought the woman to Jesus, and they were like, "Hey, Jesus, what should we do?" Right? And he said, he without sin should cast the first stone. But then after they all left, right, he was looking at the woman, and he basically said, just don't sin again and go about your way, right? So, like, I really like what you were saying about, protecting the youth and protecting them from negative influences, but also understanding they are going to go astray, right? Because we were young, right? Like, you were young at one time, and just reminding them, like, hey, it's okay to veer off the path. Just make sure you come back, and also having those examples of what it looks like to walk that path.
But that makes you stronger at the end of the day, because it's not what somebody tells you, it's what you experience, and
Right.
you learn from everything that you intake, but having a sturdy foundation to come back to. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of time in our community, people experiment and do stuff and don't have that foundation around them, so they continue to be lost, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? Because now my parent, guardian, or whoever that I look up to or I'm around, they don't have the coping mechanism to not do anything but drugs, to deal with stress and things they're going on, that they're dealing with. So when I'm stressing, I see them stressing, they're smoking and drinking and popping pills and doing all that kind of stuff. That's my reality versus somebody that has been there and says, okay, I know this isn't the way, but if this is how you're going to deal with it, when you come out of that, you have somebody to talk to, like you guys have been saying. Like, that's what we need more of in our community.
Mentorship and leadership and all of these things. And just like TJ was talking about before with the kind of yoga class or yoga collective type thing that it sounded like, that type of thing not only can teach our young people. I'm so glad you mentioned bringing younger people with you one time too, TJ, or a couple of times, because that type of thing, it's like each one teach one. You know, it you what you were experiencing there, you trickled down to younger people, and they're going to do the same thing, and that's like the only way to heal a community.
Yeah, it's breaking those
It
cycles.
really is.
Breaking
Absolutely.
those cycles, leading by example. But that being said, this brings us to the end of the first half of our show. Not our show, but the first half of our show. We got an incredible second half lined up with our amazing guests. We're going to go in. It's about to get much better. Our amazing guest, TJ Sykes. But you're tuned into the Anything Can Happen show on KGPC 96.9 FM Oakland and streaming online at www.kgpc969.org. Make sure you like, comment, follow, subscribe at ach.show on Instagram. That's at ach.show on Instagram. But stay tuned for our mid-show artist, Mr. Lewis, and stay tuned for our second half because we're bringing that heat. And we'll talk to you soon.
Felicia, what was you hearing?
What?
Open? No, not that one. That one gives the feedback.
Oh.
We got to do this one.
Just it gives feedback.
To your higher place, meditate, close your eyes and just meditate. Realize you're at heaven's gates. This is your world, seek a sacred place. Charge up your battery, keep the incense in a safe lit. Rejuvenate your energy, don't force things if they don't fit. Practice rituals. It's always deeper than the physical. Affirmations, those are critical. Keep your mind strong, ready? Here we go. Work it out. Reading more for the details. There's a way out where you see lost. Seek peace, don't seek war. Tap into the higher truth. The Akashic records are inside of you. We vibrating like the gurus. If it makes sense, ignore the world's view. What you know about it? What you know about the prophecy? Future watching through a consciously. But we meditating to the fifth degree. Nothing new. Missing God into the inner you. Not religious, this is spiritual. Your higher self, they know what to do, but you gotta fast. Flush your organs, it's a major task. But this is how you get your senses back. This is God mode, you know where it's at. You gotta concentrate. Build up your awareness. Stay away from the careless. Yo, this is a life I can cherish. Meditate. Close your eyes and just meditate. Realize you're right and this is your world. Seek out how you meditate. Close your eyes and just meditate. Realize you're right and this is your world. Seek a sacred place.
Man.
Come into the inner you. Meditate.
Got 30.
Find things that are good for you. Meditate. Isn't this what we're supposed to do? Meditate.
That's why we got Felicia in the building.
That's why we got Felicia in the building. Shout out to Felicia, our amazing station manager. But you are listening to the Anything Can Happen show with Cat Fitness, Ruby Ivy, Quessy Dreams, and our amazing special guest, TJ Sykes, in the building. We had an amazing conversation, but you just listened to our mid-show artist, Mr. Lewis, representing Sacramento, California. I believe that song was called Meditate.
Meditate, yeah.
Meditate. The song was called Meditate.
Speaking truth in that song.
Speaking truth in that song. He's actually tapped into our live. He said that song was produced by at Bap Notes Music. That's at Bap Notes Music. So definitely tap in with Mr. Lewis. But we got an incredible second half lined up. Second half, best half. So TJ, you in the building. We're gonna have a conversation about many things. They're gonna have to tune into our Instagram or to KGPC 96.9 to catch the first half. But moving into the second half strong. I see you got some crystals with you. You brought some crystals with you. If you can show them to the camera, to our live audience. You got some crystals. And what are these crystals? What do they represent?
For me, they represent protection, from the universe, from the ancestors. My belief is that our elders, our ancestors use these as for jewelry, but also protection, and that's what they're here for. Continue to protect us from negative energy, and also bring us prosperity to along our journey. A tool.
Mm-hmm.
A tool?
Come on.
Oh, a tool.
Nothing to be worshipped.
Right.
Yeah.
Tool that
Sure.
we use.
Yeah. And who put you on the crystals?
You know what? I can't remember.
Really?
Yeah.
Probably just Richmond.
Huh?
Being in Richmond.
I don't know for real. Well, when I think about it, one of my father had he actually had a tiger eye necklace with an uncle.
Oh, tiger.
So,
Wow.
Something like this.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
my belief is that my parents probably already was tapped in.
Yeah. It sounds like
it
it.
was really knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So that's probably where I really got it.
Yeah.
You know what I love hearing, TJ? Like the foundation that you've set for yourself and everything that has gotten you to this point. But I feel like a lot of us have our own particular rituals that we do. I know we talked about like your yoga practice that you do. What other things from a health perspective do you do on a daily routine? Like, is it certain foods that you eat in the morning time?
you
Do
did
you
tell us about your
meditate?
breakfast. That sounded good. Healthy.
like what are you like things that get you into this space to make sure that you're vibrating at your highest frequency every day? What are some of your best practices?
Some of my best practices. One of them is I really enjoy doing pull-ups. So I got to pull up more at my house.
Oh, you with the calisthenics?
Yeah, I really enjoy doing pull-ups. Another one is meditation. So I do meditate frequently. I have actually I did a 12-week series with a Black Women's Healing Circle. So I did facilitate meditations for them for 12 weeks straight.
So what is that? I want to break it down because sometimes people, when they say meditate, they picture you sitting down on the ground, Indian style, with your hands in a certain.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Is that the way you do it, or is it a certain way that you practice your meditation? And what does that look like when you practice it throughout the day?
Sometimes it do look like that. And it depends on where I'm at, what I'm doing. I think sometimes folks think that meditating it has to be hard or it has to be a certain way. Meditating is just really you sitting down, listening to yourself, listening to the universe. And so, for example, this is one of my earliest or latest examples of just listening to the spirit. I was driving in Alameda a few days ago, and the spirit said, "Go to the water, go to the beach, just put your feet in there." You know what I'm saying?
Get grounded one time.
Yeah.
One time for the one time.
I did just that. After I finished doing what I was doing, I went there. To me, it's something real powerful about that beach. Alameda Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because it's like no matter what the sky looks like, the water is always like this nice temperature where it's not hecka cold, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
hot either. And so, yeah, I just stood there and played in the water for about 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, I was like, next time I come here, I need some shorts. And so yeah, meditation and it can look as simple as sitting down and just taking 40 deep breaths. And I was introduced to that from a friend, my brother Kalen. And what it does when you take 40 deep breaths is it slows down your wavelengths, your brain wavelengths, and give you a chance to just be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so for folks that are interested in meditating, that's the simplest way that you can meditate is do that. Just sit and you take 40 deep breaths in and fill your stomach up. And then once you exhale, empty your stomach out.
You said 40 deep breaths?
40 deep breaths.
Wow. And you count
if
them?
you want to get real fancy with it, you can inhale something specific that you want to bring into your life, like love, gratitude, thankfulness, right?
Oh, throw some
And then
affirmations in there.
And
You
then
mean?
when you exhale, you want to exhale grief, lies, earthly attachments. These are the things that align with chakras. These are the blockages of the chakras.
And that's how actually when I first learned about meditation in the 8th grade, that is how our teacher, just my school teacher, and it was a little bit controversial because I went to a Catholic school in Berkeley, and then meditation wasn't really part of that. So she used to sneak us off to the back of the church
Wow.
and teach us how to meditate. And that one skill I used to do it all the time, like in the 8th grade
Wow.
and stuff. And that's kind of how she taught us. That was my first experience ever in life with meditation, is breathing in like one word and breathing out another word, and that
Wow.
was the first way. It's very simple. Yeah.
I like
Is there anything that you like start your day off nutrition wise that get you grounded?
Oh yeah, today I'll tell you what I started my day off with today. I put some watermelon
I
in the
seen
blender.
that
Wow.
seeded
Wait,
watermelon.
seeded or
Yeah,
unseeded?
seeded.
Oh,
That's
thank
all I
God.
eat. All I eat is seeded watermelon.
Yeah.
There we
Seeded
go.
fruit, any
Yeah.
Any seeded fruit.
Unseated is usually
Not
not
real.
it's not for me.
Not for me. No judgment, but not for me.
Yeah.
All judgment.
And so I will not accept it.
Right.
So I put the seeded watermelon in the blender with some sea moss, with some bladderwrack and some burdock root. And just blended it, and it tastes real good. Oh, and some maca powder as well.
Mhm.
Wow.
Love
Okay.
the maca.
And so, just to get my minerals for the day. And today is actually like the 4th day. I've been on all watermelon.
Oh, watermelon?
Mhm.
For real?
Yeah.
And what is that doing to you?
Or for you.
It's keeping me
For you.
it's keeping me hydrated, as well as flushing my system out.
Wow.
Go to the restroom frequently.
Okay.
Um,
How do you feel?
I feel good.
It's you know what that makes me think of? We always, you think about spring cleaning for like your house and removing
Oh,
like
interesting.
the excess,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, sure.
And when you move that excess, it makes room for you to receive new, right?
Wow.
And we don't even think about it on the level of doing the same thing for our bodies sometimes. Like
Yeah.
our body needs to rest and recover
Yeah,
and slow down the digestive system a lot of times. And by not eating these heavy foods, our bodies are able to heal other parts
Mm.
that we might not be addressing.
And set
Because
us up
we
for
have the-
better mineral absorption. Because
Exactly.
we talked about that in one of our recent shows too, just kind of talking about, because we talked a little bit about fasting and things like that, and how oftentimes we're blocking our minerals from being absorbed into our body in a healthy way. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I dig it.
That's powerful. What do your fasting have like? Do you fast regularly, or is it like an ever so often thing? What do your fasting habits?
I do a lot of fasting, a lot of cleansing. Like people, like my family and stuff, they be making fun of me. They're like, "Well, you always cleansing. Like,
Good.
You ain't never gonna gain no weight."
So there you go.
And I'm like, yeah, I would like to gain some weight eventually, but I would like to also rid my body of any disease,
Right.
any parasites,
Right.
whether it's the mind, just,
Wow.
parasitic thoughts.
Wow.
And then we have the physical parasites that are in our body. You know what I mean? So that's my goal when I go into fasting or
Yeah.
cleanse or
Yeah.
detoxes.
I want to know what you mean by parasitic thoughts.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's deep.
So when I say parasitic thoughts, it's like just in life we have habits, right? And so my habit might be eating hot chips. You know
Ooh.
what I'm saying? And it's like every day I gotta get up and I gotta go to the store
Yeah.
and get my hot chips.
Could somebody tell me
Yeah.
what a hot chip is? What is that?
Takis, hot
Yeah,
Cheetos.
Oh, I know what
Yeah.
Takis. My kid likes Takis.
Hot
Wow.
chips.
Tell
Hot
You
chips.
them
don't
to
even
stop.
ever eat it.
Tell them to stop
Hot
liking
chips.
Oh no, but yeah, yeah.
Oh,
These
Once
chips
in a
and stuff that we eat
Mhm.
there are it's chemistry. That's what we eat chemistry. We eat
Ugh. It ain't real.
chemistry.
Science project.
It is
Science.
not real.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Just read the
Oh,
ingredients. Read the label.
Yes.
Man, I need a dictionary to read half them words.
I know.
Right. if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it.
Rosetta Stone to read the ingredients.
Food Rosetta Stone.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's so.
Okay.
What? I mean, you sound like a very wholesome brother. Honestly, you've been this way since I know you, right? Almost 10 years now, right? But what are TJ's vices,
Not lie. What's my vices?
or like your guilty pleasures?
Chips. That's what I'm saying.
Chip? Oh, you say you the hot
Potato
chip eater.
chips.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Okay. What kind? Which ones?
Lay's. Classic
Like
Lay's.
classic for real?
That
That's
sounds
your
like my granny
guilty
right
pleasure?
there.
Yes, bro.
That ain't no guilty pleasure.
It is, bro.
Oh, the grease and the oil in that?
Unseasoned.
The salt?
I mean,
Salt, it ain't even sea salt. Like,
Yeah.
come on, bro. Like, that's my
Okay.
That,
I feel that. Yeah, that's all high. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Like, you know why? It's a guilty pleasure because I'm addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Addicted
like-
meaning what?
Meaning that sometimes I don't have control over, like, I just
Eat
see
a
it
whole
and I'm
big
eating.
old bag.
So you would sell grandma's TV for the.
Nah, but like, you know, like, that's why I say here it's like advice, because it's like I could be on this cleanse, right? See some lays and
Oh,
like,
man.
feel me? I
In the
done
mid-
went-
in the
you
midst
got
of the
some
play.
lays
I
over
done
there.
crossed my
Okay.
boundaries.
We need a
Check
beta.
this out.
I
TJ,
hear you though.
I done
Lay's,
crossed my
man.
boundaries.
Or Ruffles, like when I go to a party and there's like a big bag of Ruffles at a party, like you go to like somebody's house and there's a big bag, a big bowl of Ruffles, and I'm like, why, Lord?
I'm like,
Why?
I'm
Like,
y'all
test
gonna
it.
eat them hot chips.
Hey.
I'm keeping it.
Hey,
Right.
but listen to this. So, because not only you, but all of us, we all go through certain things where we're in the midst of a cleanse or midst of losing weight or saving money or whatever it may be. When you do have that guilty pleasure, what do you revert to? Like, is it like you keep on having more guilty pleasure, or do you say, I had my guilty pleasure, now I'm back to my
The routine.
back to my routine, back to my juice, back to my cleanse. I'd satisfied that urge in the moment,
Yeah.
and now I'm moving forward.
Both.
Yeah.
Right. He's like all of what you just said.
So all right, so we got the ladies, them is one, but the other one is the jalapeno kettle.
Oh, okay. I understand that.
This
I
man
understand
likes
that.
his potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he like a crispy
So,
potato,
gotcha.
and I'm not mad at
I
it.
go get the biggest bag. And
Yeah.
That's gonna satisfy. And
Oh,
then I can
yeah.
move forward.
Right.
That
Okay,
crunch
that's
too
about the
with
way.
the oh my
Some
goodness.
guacamole, yeah.
Right.
All right.
I understand because I am a
Back to the
chip.
holistic life.
I'm a chip girl. That's what made me start making kale chips so much, because I'm like, if I have to have something crunchy and salty, like
But how
could
easy?
sit up
How
here.
easy is it to make some kale chips?
It's
though?
very, very, very easy.
How?
Yeah, I mean, you can put them in the oven,
Yeah.
like super, super low. This is the way I used to do it before I got an air fryer. And now I have an air fryer. I'm living that hashtag air fryer life. And but before that, I would just toss them in a little tiny bit of olive oil, maybe a little bit of
I think you should bring some
yeah.
kale chips to the next
I think
episode.
I should, because
Yeah.
let me tell you guys, my aunt, I'm always shout out to my aunt Leela, my cousin Cayenne, who is a longtime listener. Her mom came to visit, and I made a huge bowl of kale chips and tossed them
Really?
in some nutritional yeast with a little garlic powder too,
Wow. Okay.
and a little Malden salt, honey. The way she inhaled that bowl of kale chips,
Yeah.
the way she inhaled the whole bowl, there was not nary a crumb
Wow.
left. I don't think I found one grain of salt left in that bowl. Okay. And so it's
Wow.
easy if you just, it's easy if you just put them in the oven on super low. It might take like an hour. So pop them in an hour
Sheesh.
before whatever. But that's why I like the air fryer, because I want to eat when I want to eat.
Yeah.
You
By
know.
the way,
It's faster.
Air fryer is much faster.
but
Yeah.
have y'all seen that? It's a TikTok going around talking about air fryers. Have y'all seen that?
I've seen so much. I don't know.
All
Yeah.
right, y'all probably shouldn't watch that.
Why is it saying
We
something
got-
bad about the air fryer?
I'm just saying, I'm probably not gonna use my air fryer ever again.
Oh.
The toaster oven kind of.
Oh, my.
Toaster
Oh,
oven.
I'm
okay.
gonna let y'all do that.
I think
Okay.
they all cousins though.
Yeah,
I think the air fryer and the toaster oven.
I don't know
They all
about that. That,
more
that
like
toaster
microwave.
oven like a damn microwave.
Microwave?
It's like
But
an
it's-
oven microwave.
But it's like
Is it?
air. It's
I know
just
it seems so cool, but then when
It
I was
does.
when they break down the science to it.
I don't wanna know the
I'm
science.
gonna let y'all do your thing.
But no. I mean, I think
I'm gonna let y'all be
Research
ignorant
it.
to the
I
topic
think-
right there.
I think that's an important thing to research, because remember when people didn't think anything was wrong with microwaves? I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
There's still a lot of people
So-
who think that wrong. Microwave.
right?
But hey,
Sure.
we ain't gonna spoil your fun.
No,
I know, I know.
heat up that
Keep
coffee.
putting your top
Yeah,
ramen on up in there.
heat that coffee up in that
Yeah,
microwave.
top ramen, hot links,
Noodles,
hot dogs.
Oh man, can't do snacks on my Instagram. Said kids love it too. I assume that's either the jalapeno chips, jalapeno lace. Kids love the jalapeno lace.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I wanna make some okra chips. Then.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds.
I've had those. Have you had those before? I've had those. I don't know where I got them, and I don't love okra. My mother is a
Really?
huge fan of the okra.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, but-
don't. I'm not with it, but I didn't mind them because I'll eat. I'm famous for saying I'll turn anything into a chip. Right?
Okay.
I love anything that is crunchy and salty. Anything at
Okay,
all.
this is a great segue then.
Yeah.
Great connection,
Yeah,
too.
hold on.
Yeah.
So,
Tell me
so you have your business, right, TJ?
Oh,
You-
yeah, we didn't even talk about
that's
that.
what I'm saying.
Thank you.
And
Shoot.
Thank you.
you know, you have snacks.
You having those bags right
Yeah,
there?
you got
Oh.
snacks and everything. I think this is a great. You got
You got
a great.
stuff?
Oh
Yeah,
my
uh-oh.
goodness.
Come on,
Oh,
you brought
How
it in.
happy are we
You brought in
when
the
people
evil
bring
roots.
snacks?
Yeah, the
Oh my goodness.
Look at
Yes.
this. Uh-oh.
Oh!
Let's see what he got here.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
it's
What you trying to
food.
pick up here? What you
Food
looking
is
at?
my
Oh,
favorite
and guess
thing
what?
on
Guess
earth.
what
Look
I
at
picked
that
up?
picture.
I picked up the blueberry
Look
blessing.
at that. Oh,
Come
yum.
on, check this
Yum.
out, y'all.
Somebody open something so I
I'm
can
gonna
try
have
something.
to.
Come on now.
Yeah.
How you take what you do? Venmo, you do Cash App, what's the deal?
Can we
Yeah.
read
Oh,
Kwesi instead
okay,
of
break
just
it- hold
hoarding
on.
the food
Hold
right
on,
in
let's-
front of you,
okay.
Kwesi?
Let's
So
break
we
it
got-
down
You
to.
tell us what it is.
First off, let's show it to our
No, let
viewers.
brother
So-
TJ break it down. That's
Okay.
his
Uh-huh.
thing.
TJ,
Listen.
you break it down.
All right,
Yeah.
so I'm only missing one flavor right now.
Which one?
My berry blessed flavor. That's strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, elderberry.
Ooh.
I didn't make any more yet. So
Not yet.
the flavors we have here is my blueberry blessing.
Wow.
So blueberry powder, coconut sugar, maple syrup, and organic walnuts.
Wow. You gotta show the people though. Show the people on the live.
Some of them already didn't have them. Look
got
at the comments.
Nice. Okay.
Next we got the common apple cinnamon,
Mm.
and that is
Common apple
Ceylon
cinnamon?
cinnamon, apple powder, organic coconut sugar, and maple syrup.
Where does the apple come from?
Apple powder.
Apple powder?
Mm.
Come on.
And then we have our crumble maple, which is organic coconut
Wow.
sugar and maple syrup.
Oh, I don't know.
Mm.
Just pass it.
So who needs the kettle chips when you got this?
Right.
Like you got divine treats.
Divine
Like,
treats?
I'm
how
gonna,
here? What?
I'm gonna read the one I'm
Yeah.
holding,
And by
y'all.
the way,
This
okay.
is the strawberry bliss.
Oh, that one. I'm gonna
And
take
the
this.
ingredients are
What?
strawberry powder, coconut syrup, coconut sugar, because my mouth is
Rewind.
watering. My mouth is watering. Coconut sugar, maple syrup, and organic walnuts.
So,
Wow.
so what was the inspiration to make this
Yeah.
brand, Divine Treats?
All right, so the inspiration to create the candy walnuts came from when I was working at Natural Herbs.
Shout out to the Truly.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sign.
So y'all just had the sign on here.
The sign?
Yeah, we
initially,
did.
Right, and the
Mhm.
sign. So the sign taught me how to make the chocolate flavored walnuts.
Wow.
Man.
And so-
Chocolate sea moss.
Yeah, so
Yum.
my chocolate flavor is chocolate sea moss, and it has cacao powder, sea moss powder, date nectar. That's
Wow.
the liquid ingredient.
Ooh, those are all things I literally have in my house right now.
Yeah.
And walnuts, because I'm always
That's
making
beautiful.
walnut tacos.
So when he showed me how to create that, he just showed me, like, you know how if an elder show you something, they don't really have a recipe.
Yeah, a little sprinkle of this. Yeah,
Right,
whip that up.
absolutely.
I'm like, brother, I need a recipe. So,
Absolutely
went
true.
home, created a recipe for myself for that, and I started to sell those in the store.
Yeah.
And they was, you know,
A
still
hit.
selling. They still sell today.
Yeah.
In Natural Herbs, and so
Oh,
from that, I
Can you also find them like online? Do you ship or anything like that
yes,
for
I
our
do
view-
ship. I do
Okay.
have a website. It's TJ Sykes Divine. Biz, yeah.
So I want to know which one we're going to open right now so that we can have a live
Pick
tasting.
one. Pick one.
On
She said
the
he wanted
show.
chocolate one,
Nah,
so
I'm
we're not
taking
gonna
this
open
one
that
home.
Oh, Quincy he just taking the chocolate
That one come
from
home.
from the woman who
Find
loves
it.
it. It's just wrong.
Drop it online.
It's
Drop it
wrong.
online. If you
It's
want it, you gonna
Harsh.
find it.
It's painful. I'm over here PMSing and he's not sharing any
Oh,
chocolate.
man.
Quincy
Oh,
just
shoot.
wrong.
Oh shoot.
Dang.
TMI.
Cut
TMI.
the live.
Oh, yeah, got that gorilla grip right there.
Yeah.
Killing bananas and everything.
Oh, Lordy. Wait, which one are we opening? Oh yeah.
Blueberries.
Yum, I
That
love
one
blueberry.
is hot.
Mhm. You just saying that because you got the chocolate quizzes.
No, I ain't even tried the chocolate.
Everybody help yourself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we only got a few more minutes, so this is gonna be our last
see.
segment.
So this is the blueberry?
Yeah, blueberry.
Okay, blueberry blessing.
Blueberry
Blueberry
blessing.
Mm.
Is that what it's called? Blueberry blessings.
Let's
Okay.
see.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
see if it's a blessing.
Yeah, this gets the stamp of Cat Fitness approval right here.
Oh,
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna stamp this. Even Felicia snuck her hand in the studio.
wow.
She snuck her hand in the
Oh, my
studio.
goodness.
Those
Yeah,
are delicious.
come on.
These
You
are
hear her
delicious.
smacking on the show.
So why did you pick
Wow.
walnuts as
Yeah,
your
I want that.
yeah,
Yeah.
instead of like almonds or cashews or something like that?
Walnuts is one of the best nuts and one of the top selling nuts, along with almonds too.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
walnuts is one of the best selling nuts. Very
Really?
good for protein and your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looked like a brain.
looks like a brain.
So-
Mhm.
Yeah, and that was the first place that I could find, bulk. I found some bulk walnuts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I dropped to the farm.
Oh, nice.
To walnuts.
Mhm. These are delicious.
No,
Really good.
they really are.
Mhm.
I remember last time I got like 2 bags. They barely made it home.
I am in the works of creating another product though, because I do run into a lot of people that has nut allergies.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
I just want to have some for those
Mhm.
Right.
to my table or come to my website.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I do not have nut allergies, so,
So-
I'm gonna be getting me plenty of these. I love walnuts.
So can you just shout out the website where
Yeah,
people could
yeah.
check this out?
Yeah.
Mm.
It's TJ Sykes Divine.biz.
Wow.
So it's TJSYKESDIVINE.BIZ.
And drop the socials too. If people want to tap
So
in.
my personal social media is TJ Sykes 5555.
Mm.
My life path number is 5. I was also born on the 5th of June.
Wow.
And so,
Oh, we get into the science now.
Yeah. Numerology.
We breaking it down.
the Instagram for my treats is Divine Treats _ Divine Treats 2020.
Man.
And published author. My book is called Section 8.
Yeah.
I do have a Instagram for that as well. It's tj.section.8.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If not, check my personal page.
Yeah.
Do you do like with your products and everything? Do you do events and stuff like that? If so, what are some
Sweet.
upcoming events you're gonna have? Where can people find you in the community? If you got anything going on?
Well, people can purchase the walnuts at Naturally Herbs if they want to.
Where's Naturally Herbs?
Naturally Herbs is in Richmond on McDonald Avenue.
Yeah. It's hard to miss.
I forget the address.
It's by the Target. By the Target at
By
McDonald's.
Target Panda Express Wingstop, man.
Mhm. Across the street from Panda
No free
Express.
advertising.
Mhm.
Okay.
No, I'm playing.
And I'll be in Oakland, Richmond. I can't think of an event that I'm gonna be at in the future right in this moment. But the last event that I've been at was in Richmond at the East Brothers Brewery. They do a family event on the last Sunday of each month, so I will be there on the last Sunday of each month.
All right.
But I have vended at Naturally Herbs. I have vended at Afro Soca in Oakland. I have vended at Lake Merritt. I have vended at Berkeley Flea Market.
Okay.
Man, you hit up all the spots.
Yeah. So tap in another one of our guests, Berserkly Food Festival. Berserkly Food Festival coming up. Tap in.
Shout out Erica. I'll be
Erica.
speaking at that event, y'all.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
So,
Incredible. You got the date?
Huh?
You got the date?
The date?
It's in October. She moved to October.
No, it's in September.
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 Well, we'll talk about that off air.
Yeah,
But
we'll
definitely tap in
We'll
with
keep everybody updated on the Berserkly Vegan Food Festival
her. Excellent.
coming up in September. I will be one of the guest speakers out there, y'all. So definitely
Nice.
come through. Get your tickets now
Yes.
because online, I believe it's going to be discounted versus getting your tickets at the door. So,
Mhm.
yeah, definitely go
Okay.
out there and get your tickets for the festival. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And get you your divine treat. Shout out to TJ Sykes coming through, blessing our listening audience live. And those of y'all catching the broadcast on KGPC 96.9 FM. This has been another incredible episode of the Anything Can Happen show. Cat Fitness, Questy Dream, Ruby, Envy. We're bringing it to you live every single Thursday at noon Pacific Standard Time. Like, comment, follow, subscribe at ACH.show on Instagram. And definitely stay tuned. We got a lot more on the way. Tell a friend about it. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Yes, yes.
Going in.
Woo. Man. was good.
That was really good.
That was a whole lot of content.
Yeah, seriously.
hmm
Seriously.
I love when our guests bring in food.
Yeah, okay. Me too. You said we can do cash app?
Mm-hmm.